God's Wood at Winterfell was never truly silent. The old white tree stood in its pool of black water like a ghost given roots, red leaves trembling in no wind Bran could feel. Snow lay in soft crusts along the banks, and somewhere beyond the ring of ancient oaks a wolf howled, a long, low note that shivered in his bones. He felt it in other bones too, bones buried 1,000 leagues and 100 years away, bones ground to ash in dragonfire, bones that had never yet grown. The weirwood's face watched him with eyes of bleeding sap. Once, that carved mouth had been just a mouth to him. Now it was something else, a door and a wound and a mirror all at once. Bran knelt on the stone, his useless legs folded before him, cloak pooled around his thin frame. The air was cold enough that his breath smoked, but he felt the warmth of summer somewhere far below, beating like a slow, deep heart through the roots. He closed his eyes and let himself fall. The descent was always the same in its way. The roughness of bark against his cheek, the sticky wetness of sap, the sense of being drawn down through wood and water, through soil and stone, until Winterfell was no more than a memory of snow on his skin. Then the other memories came. A king screaming as green fire blossomed around him, consuming and transcendent. A girl with silver hair stepping into the flames of a pyre, unburnt and unbowed, dragons crawling wet and crying from charred eggs. A boy with a direwolf's eyes standing on the wall, sword in hand, breath steaming as dead men pressed forward in the dark. Cities burning, children dying, dragons wheeling above a city of spires as bells rang like morning. Burn them all, a voice shrieked, high and cracked and terrified. The words echoed through time. They had clung to the stones beneath King's Landing, seeped into the ashes of 1,000 pyrewood piles, settled into the marrow of the world. They had haunted Bran since the first time he had brushed against that moment by accident, sliding sideways through years in search of answers. He had reached for the shadow of a king and found a mind already half broken, filled it with a desperate warning, and watched as the warning rotted into madness. Burn them all. He had done that. Some part of him, young and frightened and not yet ready, had helped tear the 7 kingdoms apart. Today he had not come to watch. He had come to change it. Are you certain? The voice came not from the tree but from everywhere at once. The whisper of leaves, the hush of snow. Brinden rivers had been dead for more than a century, but shadows remained, impressions worn into the wood like old carvings. They spoke when they chose or when he needed them to. Yes, Bran said. His own voice sounded very small. I am. You know the truths we spoke, the former three-eyed raven murmured. The past is written. The ink is dry. Bran tasted that, the old settlement of it, the resignation. Then he swallowed it. Not all of it, he said. Some ink was always my hand. Memories spilled through him. Hodder's wide, frightened eyes. A boy named Wylus collapsing under a weight that had not yet fallen. A word turning into a life. Hold the door. He had carved that into a child across decades. He could carve something else. I broke him, Bran said, and the admission felt like a stone lifting from his chest. I broke the king in the Red Keep when I wasn't ready. I screamed a warning at a mind already cracked, and it fell apart. I made a monster that burned a city, that burned the realm. If I could break him, I can mend him. Silence followed, not quite disapproval, not quite agreement. The weirwood's face wept slow sap. Every change has a cost, the old shadow said at last. A thread pulled here and the whole tapestry changes. The battles you know may never be fought. The people you have loved may never be born. Bran's thoughts went to Jon, to Arya and Sansa, to his mother's face, to Robb with his wolf's smile, to a girl with dragons, eyes like polished amethysts, standing before him in another vision and asking him, what do you want? He had wanted to live. He had wanted the world to live. If I do nothing, Bran said, the dead still come, the walkers still march. Only there is no north left to stand in their way, no dragons to burn them, no realm to unite. The line of the dragon is broken and scattered, its last child sold and beaten and bound to a path that burns the living as surely as the dead. Ares's madness was the first falling stone. "Let me set it upright." "And if you cannot?" the whisper asked. "If you only crack it in another shape? Then I will try again," Bran said simply, "until the ink runs the way it must." His fingers curled in the damp moss. Somewhere, in a time that had not yet happened and had already passed, a boy fell from a tower and flew. "Show me the moment," he said. The world turned. He plunged through centuries. He saw the trident flashing red with Targaryen rubies, saw a lion banner over smoking gates, saw a baby wrapped in a red cloak and handed to a man with tears in his eyes. He saw Aerys the second Targaryen young and laughing, a slim prince with silver hair and hopeful eyes. He saw him later, thin and wild-eyed, hair lank and greasy, nails grown into talons, muttering to himself in dark corridors as whispers crawled over his skin. Not there. That fracture had already spread. Bran pushed deeper. He tasted wildfire, copper on his tongue, felt the heat of it in his blind eyes. The vision narrowed, focusing like an arrow on a single room. The throne room of the Red Keep. The Iron Throne loomed, jagged and cruel, a mountain of twisted swords. Torches flared green along the walls, casting sickly light on the assembled watchers. Rickard Stark stood with ashes on his boots and ice in his beard, armored in steel and northern pride. Brandon Stark strained against the hands that held him, voice a hoarse roar in Bran's ear. "RS even across years. Come out and die," Brandon shouted, and his words were a blade. Above them all, Aerys sat the throne. His robes clung to his frame, rich and heavy, dark crimson embroidered with black dragons that seemed to writhe in the flickering light. His eyes were not a king's eyes. They were a man's eyes at the edge of a precipice, wild and hungry and afraid. "Burn them," something hissed. "Burn the traitors. Burn the wolves. Burn the world before it burns you." Bran heard that whisper as he had heard it before. A chorus of distant shrieks, a chittering of unseen teeth. It was not his voice. It was older than him, older than this king. It wound through Aerys' thoughts like smoke, stinging, blinding. This far, Bran had only ever brushed against the scene. This time, he thrust himself fully into it. He did not reach for the king's ears. He reached for his roots. The Targaryens had no godswoods in King's Landing. They had uprooted the old gods from the south, cut down every white tree they found. But roots were not only wood. There were roots of other kinds, bloodlines and oaths old bargains struck when the world was young. The Targaryens had come from across the sea, true, but they had bent the necks of Westeros with dragonfire, and the land had accepted them in its own way. Fire and stone and dragonbone, buried deep beneath the Red Keep's foundations, carried whispers too. Bran slid through the bedrock, through ancient caverns stinking of pyromancer's piss and wildfire's bile, through the skull-lined vaults where dead dragons stared out with empty sockets. The skulls remembered. Heat, the joy of flight, the taste of charred flesh, the thunder of a king's heartbeat between iron knees. He rose through that memory into the man seated above. The Mad King's mind was a hall of mirrors and fire. Bran stepped into an echoing chamber lined with towering panes of glass. Each was warped, each reflected Aerys in different forms. Laughing, screaming, sobbing, crowned and crawling and naked. Flames crawled over the edges of every reflection, licking the glass. Some cracked under the heat. At the center stood Aerys himself, staring about in terror. His beard smoked. Ash clung to his fingers. His eyes darted, seeing everything and nothing. "Who are you?" he demanded. His voice trembled, but it still held command. "Show yourself. I am the king, I am." A sheet of glass shattered beside him, scattering fragments that bled green fire. From the jagged edges, voices rose. "Burn them all. Burn them, burn them, burn." Bran felt the pressure of them against his own thoughts, the seductive simplicity of the answer they offered. No traitors if there are no subjects. No pain if there is nothing left to hurt you. He remembered his father's hand on his shoulder, the steady pressure. A lord must learn that sometimes Bran, Ned Stark had said, doing the hard thing is not the cruel thing. Bran gathered that memory like a cloak and wrapped it around himself. I am a memory, Bran said. His voice filled the hall, echoing back at him in hundredfold. I am a promise. I am the eyes of the world that comes after you. Aerys spun, searching. He saw nothing but fire and himself. No one comes after me, he snapped, the edge of panic sharpening his words. They would see me dead. They all would. Vultures, crows. My hand plots. My lords conspire. They whisper, whisper, whisper. More glass broke. In each fragment, Bran saw faces. Tywin Lannister cold and controlled. Varys with his soft hands. Riella with bruises on her arms. Rhaegar in armor black as night, harp in hand. Children, too. Rhaenys with her kittens. Little Aegon with his toy dragon. A girl with silver gold hair yet unborn, turning and smiling at a sun that had not yet risen. Fire licked closer to those fragments. They do whisper, Bran agreed. You have given them cause to. You have burned and watched them scream. You have taken and not given back. You are not the king you were meant to be. Aerys flinched as if struck. For a heartbeat his eyes cleared, and Bran glimpsed the man beneath the rod. A proud prince who had once believed that rule meant peace and flourishing, that dragons could be shepherds as well as wolves. They tried to kill me, Aerys hissed, clutching at his chest as if to tear out treachery with his nails. Duskendale, do you think I have forgotten? Held like a common criminal while my own hand sat his fat lion arse on my throne. They laughed. They all laughed. I smelled it on them when I returned. The smoke of their pleasure. He clawed at the air. Wildfire flared along the mirrors, reflecting his fear back at him until it distorted into rage. They would kill your children too, the whisper of madness purred. Before you see them rise, they would put a stag or a wolf where the dragon sits. Burn them all. The king's hands trembled. His lips worked around words. Bran stepped closer, wading through flame that did not burn him. He thought of Hodder again, of the way fear had worn a boy into one word, of how time had folded over itself. He thought of the voices that had seeped into Aerys' head, old and cruel and cunning, feeding on the weakness left by Duskendale's humiliation, on the long, slow isolation of power. Listen to me, Bran said, and he shaped his voice into something cold and clear, like water running under ice. I am not your hand. I am not one of your lords. I am not here to take your throne. I am here to show you what comes if you choose as they whisper. He reached, and the mirrors became windows. Aerys gasped as he saw his own future. The city in flames, streets choked with corpses, bells tolling under dragon shadow. He saw his youngest children dashed against walls, his grandchildren and their mother butchered. He saw his own body, slashed open by a man in golden armor as wildfire burned behind him. Traitor, Aerys whispered. Traitor Jaime. He saw a girl across the sea, barefoot in the red waste, nursing dragons with blood and hope and rage. He saw her ships crossing back, flying dragon banners into a world that had forgotten them. He saw himself as the story told him. The Mad King, the last monster of a dynasty that had once ruled all. He saw the line of the dragon ending in ashes and exile. No, he breathed. Tears tracked clean lines down his dirty cheeks. No, no, no. You made that world, Bran said gently. You and those who pushed you. You let the whispers become your voice. You burned where you should have bound. You ruled through fear, not fire. Fire can warm as well as burn. Aerys laughed then, a broken sound. What do you know of fire, little ghost? You hide in trees, in stone. You know nothing. Bran let the dragon memories rise. Heat rolled off him. The hall filled with the roar of wings, with the crack of lightning on scales. For a moment, he was not himself at all but something vast and old and hungry, circling above a smoking field, flame on his tongue, his rider a shadow against the sun. Aerys staggered back before that vision, tripping over his own robe. Flames flickered uncertainly around them, their color shifting from sickly green to a clearer orange. "Dragons!" Ares gasped. "My dragons! Your forebears bound fire to their will," Bran said. "They ruled, yes. But the land remembered them as more than butchers. Aegon spared those who bent the knee. His sisters built roads and laws. They broke and they built in equal measure. You have only broken." Green light flickered across Ares's face. He looked so small now, so thin, crouched in the heart of his own madness. His fingers dug into his beard. "If I am so weak, why have you come?" he rasped. "If all is written, if I am only a monster in your tales, why bother to speak to a dead man? Because of a boy whose back broke and whose eyes opened. Because of a girl with dragons whose rage burned a city. Because of a king on a blasted throne who had said, 'The wheel is broken now,' and thought that enough." Bran steadied himself. "Because the dead are not as helpless as you think," he said. "Because you are not yet the monster they remember. There is still time to turn." "Turn?" Ares spat. "Turn into what? A puppet of my hand? A weak, kind king to be eaten by wolves? They will smell blood at once. Tywin, Baratheon, Stark. They already circle, teeth bared. My own son undermines me. He sings songs of prophecy while the realm rots." He laughed again, harsh and bitter. "What would you have me do? Embrace them? Invite them to my bed as well?" The green fire flared at that, feeding on his humiliation. Bran felt the pull of it, the temptation to strike first and end the threat before it could bloom. "Listen," he said again, and this time he wove other sounds into his voice. Lyanna Stark's laughter as the wind tugged at her hair. Rhaegar's fingers on harp strings, the clink of cups at a feast in Winterfell, the soft coo of a baby in a cradle carved with dragons. Images rolled through the mirrors. Ares saw Rhaegar smiling, holding a black-haired child with his mother's eyes. He saw Lord Stark kneeling not in chains, but in fealty, sword laid before him. He saw Robert Baratheon clapping his best friend on the back at a wedding where dragons and direwolves shared the banners above the dais. "The wolves and stags need not be your enemies," Bran said quietly. "You make them so every time you call them traitors for speaking truth. Your hand might have been your staunchest ally, had you not spurned him. Your son might already have the realm singing his name, had you not clipped his wings out of fear." Ares stared. The mirror's flames guttered, as if waiting on his breath. "No," he whispered. They would turn on me. My son would supplant me. Tywin already thinks himself king. They would unmake me piece by piece." "Yes," Bran said, and a flicker of the old, bitter smile crossed his own face. "They would if you stay as you are, if you go on burning everyone who frightens you. Or," he reached out, not to seize, not to shout into Ares's mind, but to touch gently, as his father had touched his shoulder. "You can change," he finished. Ares trembled. His gaze slipped sideways, catching glimpses of himself in the warped glass. A madman, a failed king, a cautionary tale. "Change," he repeated softly, tasting the word like something foreign. "I am the king. How can the king change? The realm must bend to me." "Or break you," Bran said. The mirrors shook. A long crack ran through one, bisecting Ares's reflection. On one side, a corpse in golden gore. On the other, a man with white in his hair and a crown that did not sit like a weight of knives. "The choice is yours," Bran said. "It always was. You can burn the wolves in your hall today, and the world will answer with fire and steel. Or you can do something you have not done in a long time, Ares of House Targaryen." "What?" the king asked, voice raw. "Be a dragon who rules, not a beast that ravages," Bran said. "Stand from that throne. Walk down into your hall. Look Lord Stark in the eye. Call your son home. Admit fault, not weakness. Fault. You trusted the wrong counsel. You listened to the wrong whispers. You cloaked your fear in flame. It is not too late to stop." The hall held its breath. Ares looked out at the futures Bran offered. The ashes, the exile, the girl with dragons. The wedding banners, the white-haired grandchildren playing in a sunlit court. He saw himself in each, old and broken or old and bowed but not shattered. His hands clenched into fists. Slowly shaking, he rose. The mirrors shook as he did, flame sputtering. The green fire retreated first, seeping back into the cracks, its laughter thinning to a hissing whine. In its place came a cleaner light, orange and red, and shadows of dragons that did not snarl but watched. Aerys drew a breath that seemed to scrape his lungs raw. Madness and greatness, he muttered half to himself. Two sides of the same coin, my grandsire used to say. The gods flip it. No choice to be had. Perhaps the gods have flipped enough coins for you, Bran said. Take this one in your own hand. Aerys looked up. For the first time since Bran had seen him, the man's gaze steadied. Who are you? He asked again, softer. A boy who fell, Bran said. A king who knows what you become. A Stark and a Targaryen both, in a way you cannot yet imagine. It was more truth than he had intended to give away, but truth had power here. A Stark, Aerys said, his mouth twisted. Of course. Something like rueful amusement touched his eyes. Then he closed them. I will try, he said hoarsely. 7 hells take me, I will try. If this is trickery, little ghost, may you burn with me. If you turn back now, Bran said, we all burn. If you step forward, there is a chance we do not. Aerys nodded once. The hall of mirrors shattered around them, falling away into light. Bran snapped back into the weirwood with a gasp. Bark bit his cheek. His hands were buried in moss, fingers numb. For a moment he was only Bran again. Tired, cold, a boy who had seen too much. The gods' wood rustled. Ravens called from the branches above, the sound rough and familiar. He felt the world tremble. Threads of time pulled taut, plucked like harp strings. Some snapped, others knotted into new patterns. Memories shifted. The dull weight of a history he had known slid sideways, making room for something else. He reached out. The throne room of the Red Keep unspooled before him again, but not as it had been every time he had looked before. Brandon Stark still strained in his chains, face flushed with fury, dark hair wild, the cord around his throat cutting deep when he threw himself forward. Rickard Stark still stood tall despite the weight of Southern eyes on him. His voice cool and measured as he demanded that his son be set free, that justice be done. You come into my hall, Aerys Targaryen said, his voice carrying over the murmuring courtiers. Swords rattling, words like blades, and you speak to me of justice. His fingers closed on the arms of the Iron Throne. In the old memory, Bran knew those fingers had flexed and waved toward the pyromancers. Green light would have flared. Ash would have filled the room. This time Aerys rose. He did it slowly, as if the throne clung to him, reluctant to let its favorite monster move away. His robes whispered along the steps. His crown tilted slightly on his silver hair. Justice, Aerys repeated, descending one step, then another. You accuse my son of kidnapping, Stark. Treason, some would say. Treason against crown and realm. He reached the throne's base and paused there. The hall watched, breathless. Rickard Stark's face tightened just a fraction. Brandon's curses faltered on his tongue. Treason against you as a father, Aerys went on. As a king, as a man. A murmur ran through the court. The king ignored it. Your writ spoke of your son riding into my capital in a storm of anger, demanding death, he said. Here he is, shouting, threatening, calling for my head. His gaze flicked to Brandon, one brow lifting. Brandon spat at his feet, the act earning a sharp jerk on his chains from the captains holding him. And yet, Aerys continued, turning back to Rickard, you are not wrong. The words fell heavy as anvils. Bran felt the moment ripple through the realm. Somewhere in the gardens, Varys paused mid-step. At the edge of the hall, Jaime Lannister's fingers twitched on the hilt of his sword. In a gallery above, Prince Riella pressed a hand to her mouth, knuckles white. My son has taken a lady of your house without leave, Aerys said. the words tasting like poison on his tongue. He has done so for his own reasons, and I will hear them, but no king who calls himself just can pretend such an act is nothing. A wolf would not stand for it. Why should a dragon? Brandon's breath caught. Ricard's eyes narrowed. Aerys lifted his chin, meeting that northern gaze without flinching. But justice is not wildfire, he said. It is not a sudden blaze that devours all it touches. It must be weighed and measured. He turned, letting his eyes sweep his court. I will not have it said that Aerys Targaryen burns men for asking justice, he declared. Not today. A murmur built, shock and confusion and something else. Relief? Relief was unfamiliar here. Lord Ricard Stark, Aerys said, facing the Northmen again. You and your son are my guests in this hall. You came under a banner of truce, and though your tongues are uncouth, I will not make liars of your oaths or mine. You will be given chambers befitting your rank. Guards will be posted, as befits hostages who have spoken dangerously. You will remain until my son returns and answers for his actions. Brandon jerked. Hostages? He snarled. You! The cord bit his throat hard enough to choke him. He coughed, eyes bulging. Ricard lifted one hand slightly. Brandon, he said, warning and plea both. Silence fell again. Aerys' jaw clenched. For an instant Bran felt the old impulse flare. Burn them. It would be so easy. He laid his own will against it. Aerys' fingers flexed. He exhaled slowly. Remove those cords, he said at last. Lord Stark's son is hot-headed, not yet forged. Perhaps a stay in my capital will temper him. If it does not, then we shall see. The guards hesitated. The king's eyes flashed. Well, the cords fell away. Brandon staggered, rubbing his bruised neck, incredulous. You will not burn them? One of the pyromancers whispered, aghast. Your grace, the preparations we have. Aerys turned on him, and the look he gave the man would have melted steel. You think I am your puppet? He hissed, voice thick with scorn. You think I dance to your green flame? Begone. Get you back to your pots and piss. When I want fire, I will call it. Until then, I will. I have no more mutterings in my ear. The pyromancer recoiled as if struck. Red cloaks and gold cloaks both shifted uneasily, glancing between the king and the alchemists. Bran felt the sour, seething anger of the wildfire guild retreat, nursing its grievance. It would whisper again, but for now the king's back was turned to it. Summon my small council, Aerys said. Send riders. My son is to come to King's Landing at once. With his companion. He almost spat the word, but held it in. Until then, no harm is to come to Lord Stark or his heir, he finished. By my command, anyone who disobeys will answer to Dragonfire. That at least brought a thin, savage smile to his lips. So be it. Fire had its uses. Bran let his consciousness drift, following the ripples outward. In Storm's End, Robert Baratheon smashed his cup against the hearth when the Raven arrived. Wine splattered across stone. He took her, Robert snarled, pacing before the great table. The antlers carved into the chairs seemed to bristle along with him. He took Lyanna. He stole her from me, that silver-haired son of Robb, Ned Stark said quietly. He stood by the window, cloak drawn in against the sea wind. The Raven's note crinkled in his hand, Stark seal broken. Targaryen words Stark on the parchment. His father alive, his brother a hostage, the king calling for parley rather than execution. Lord Stark, Robert snapped, turning on him, face florid. They hold your father, your brother. They've taken your sister. And you what? Frown at the sea? We should be raising our banners, not waiting for some mad king to decide how to kill them. Not mad, Ned said, the word tasting strange. Not yet. The letter speaks of justice, of hearing all sides. That is not what we expected. Letters lie, Robert snarled. Kings lie. Rhaegar lies most of all. You saw him at Harrenhal. whispering to that northern maid of yours, all smiles and songs. And now she's gone. My betrothed. My Lyanna. He slammed his fist against his chest, as if to jar his heart into another shape. Ned thought of Lyanna laughing as she rode circles around the tourney ground. Lyanna with a wreath of winter roses in her hands, eyes bright as she had watched the Silver Prince ride past other maids. Lyanna, furious at the idea of being anyone's prize. She left willingly, Ned said softly. Robert stared. What? She would not have gone anywhere she did not choose, Ned said. You know my sister. If Rhaegar took her by force, she'd have clawed his eyes out and left his body by the roadside. The letter calls her companion. Odd that, not hostage. Robert's lip curled. Pretty words. Ned looked down at the parchment again. With each heartbeat, the choices before him shifted. In one set of possibilities, he saw himself riding to war at Robert's side. Banners streaming, the North and Stormlands and Vale united against the dragon. He saw fields littered with bodies, ravens fat on the flesh of men he would come to know too well. A different vision, faint and fragile, was taking shape around it now. If there is a chance, he said, that this can be settled with words instead of swords, we must take it. For my father, for Brandon, for Lyanna, for all the people who will die if we go to war. We will win that war, Robert said, as if that settled all. We'll smash them. I'll put Rhaegar's head on a spike and take your sister from wherever he's hidden her. She may not want to be taken, Ned said, the words so quiet they were nearly lost under the sea's roar. Robert flinched as if struck. For a moment his face was naked, hurt boy, not fearsome lord. She loves me, he said stubbornly. She has to. Ned thought of Lyanna's sharp tongue, her disdain for Robert's whoring even before he was wed. He thought of her drawn to songs of prophecy, to stories of the first men and the children of the forest, to fire and ice both, restless as any wolf. She likes you, he said at last, but she never asked for this match. Color rose hot in Robert's cheeks. 7 hells, Ned. You sound as cold as your bloody snows. The man who stole my betrothed is a traitor. Your sister is a victim. The king is mad. What more do you need? A way that does not drown the realm in blood, Ned said. He felt Bran's presence, faint as a breeze through leaves, and almost shivered. He did not know that his own son watched him from a future where he had already made those choices, where the blood had already run. But some echo must have whispered in his bones, because he straightened, jaw firming. I will go to King's Landing, Ned said. I will stand beside my father and brother and hear what the king and prince have to say. If it is lies and madness, then you will have your war, Robert. I will march with you, but if there is any chance of peace. Peace with a Targaryen? Robert spat. They burn men alive. Once, Ned said. Twice. 12 times. How many times before we stop pointing at their worst days to excuse our own? He thought of wild reeds and quiet crannogmen, of his father sitting so straight in the high seat that no one ever doubted his word. Justice, his father had said once, is not vengeance, Ned. It is the weight that keeps the sword in its sheath until there is no other choice. Robert looked away first. Fine, he muttered. Go play your games at court. Talk to your little silver prince. I'll stay here and sharpen my axe. But if they hurt you, Ned, he smiled then, a terrible, bright thing. I'll burn their city for them. No, Ned said softly, and those branches of fate trembled and receded. You will not. We'll find another way. He folded the king's letter and sealed it with his own wax, north and south touching for a moment in red. Bran drifted on. He found Rhaegar at the Tower of Joy. The prince stood at the top of the tower, cloak whipping in a hot wind. Below him, the Dornish desert rolled away in waves of sand and shale, orange and rust-red under the setting sun. Above, the sky burned gold. The tower's white stones blushed in the light, colors mingling like blood in milk. Rhaegar's hands rested on the parapet. Long fingers, a harpist's and a swordsman's both. He stared west, eyes distant. Behind him, footsteps sounded lightly. Boots on stone, the faint clink of mail, then the whisper of linen. Lyanna Stark came to stand at his shoulder, hair unbound, dark as a raven's wing against the pale of her shift. A fine sheen of sweat clung to her brow. "You brooded up here all morning," she said, "and all afternoon. Are you going to sulk all night as well?" "Sulk?" Rhaegar repeated, something like amusement creasing the line of his mouth. "Princes do not sulk. We contemplate. I have seen you contemplate a harp, and this is not that," Lyanna said. "This is you worrying yourself into knots. Have your prophecies soured now that you have what you ran to find?" He flinched at that, just a little. "What I ran to find," he said, eyes dropping to her hand where it rested on the stone, fingers calloused from reins and practiced swords, "is standing beside me. So no, my prophecies are complicated." "Everything with you is complicated," Lyanna muttered, but there was fondness in it. "You see dragons in every cloud." "Not every cloud," he said. "Just enough of them." He hesitated. "A raven came." Lyanna's head snapped up. "From King's Landing?" He nodded. "My father calls me home. He has Lord Stark and your brother in his hall. He speaks of justice, not punishment." She exhaled slowly. Bran felt her wrestling with relief and suspicion both. "He is mad," she said at last. "Everyone says so. He burned men alive for less than what we have done." "We," Rhaegar echoed, one silver brow lifting. Lyanna snorted. "Do not you dare try to shoulder all the blame, my prince. I rode with you. I chose this. My father would have married me to Robert, and I would have ridden south in chains of gold. You cut them, yes, but I asked you to." Her jaw clenched. "I will not have the world call this a kidnapping," she said fiercely. "If I must face my father, I will face him with that truth." Rhaegar's gaze softened. "You will face him with me," he said. "I swear it." Lyanna looked back toward the north, where snow-capped peaks rose like ghosts on the horizon only she could see. She thought of her father's grave face, of Brandon's roaring temper, of Ned's quiet steadiness. She thought of Robert's loud, jovial promises, of what lay beneath them. She also thought of the baby not yet quickening in her belly. "Your father," she began, then stopped. If he remembers he was a man once, there may be a path through this that isn't soaked in blood." Bran pressed close, lending weight to that thought. Rhaegar reached for her hand. "I have dreamed it," he said. "Dragons twined with wolves over a single crown. The song of ice and fire, not clashing but woven. My father's mind has been clouded, but minds can clear." Lyanna glanced at him sidelong. "Your faith in him is new." "So is his letter," Rhaegar said dryly. "He asks for my counsel. He admits no faults, of course, but he acknowledges there are things he must reconsider." He smiled, faint and sharp. Perhaps a certain ghost whispered in his ear. Bran's awareness jolted. Rhaegar felt him. The prince turned his head slightly, as if listening to a sound only he could hear. His violet eyes narrowed, focusing on something invisible in the air between them. "Who?" he began. Lyanna frowned. "What is it?" "Nothing," Rhaegar said quickly. Then more slowly, "Or a presence, a chill. I have felt it before. At Summerhall, at Harrenhal, watching, listening." He lowered his voice. "You believe in old stories, Lyanna Stark. Do you believe in spirits?" "I believe the past is never as far away as people like to pretend," she said. "In the north, we live with our ghosts. We carve them faces on trees and whisper secrets to them. They whisper back." Rhaegar's gaze dropped to her hand again, to the ring he had slid there. Targaryen sigil and Stark direwolf intertwined. A piece worked hastily by a smith who had never imagined such a symbol. "If the past is watching," he said softly, "perhaps it is trying to steer us away from the cliff. Or toward another one," Lyanna said. "Ghosts have their own agendas." Bran almost laughed. The sound would have startled them out of their skins, and so he held it in. I will go, Rhaegar said. I will bring you with me if you'll come. We will face my father together. We will face yours. And we will make them see that this is not theft, but a union. Lyanna lifted her chin. Fear coiled in her, but she set her jaw against it. I am not a prize to be given back and forth, she said. If they think to drag me like a sack of grain between you and Robert, they will learn how wolves bite. I would expect nothing less, Rhaegar said, and bent to kiss her knuckles. Bran watched them, a strange ache filling him. His own father was younger in this vision than Bran now felt. Lyanna was just a girl, fierce and bright and doomed in the history he had known. He would not let her story end in blood on a bed of blue flowers this time. He stretched his awareness wider, following the ravens that took wing from the Tower of Joy, from Storm's End, from Winterfell. Messages crossed the sky like threads on a loom, weaving a pattern he had never seen before. At the Red Keep, Varys slid a letter into his sleeve and smiled his soft, knowing smile. The game changes, he murmured to himself. How delightful. In Casterly Rock, Tywin Lannister read the king's summons to council, lips pursed. Aerys wanted his counsel again, after years of spurning it. He weighed insult against opportunity, his pride against his family's place in the realm. The scales wavered, tipped, steadied. At Dragonstone, Rhaella knelt alone in the island's small sept, hands clasped. There were bruis, S on her wrists and shadows under her eyes. She whispered prayers not to the father or the mother, but to the memories of dragons that had once nested in the mountain behind the castle. Give him back to me, she whispered. The man I married, not the monster the city sees. The stranger said nothing, but somewhere deep inside the rock, dragonfire stirred. And in the Red Keep, Aerys stared into a mirror at his own gaunt reflection and saw, flickering faintly behind his own eyes, something like regret. The small council is assembled, Your Grace, a steward said from beyond his chamber door. Aerys straightened. His robes hung looser than they once had. He had not been eating much. He had been preoccupied. No more, he told himself. No more letting the rot eat me from within. No more letting others pull my strings. He opened the door. The council chamber smelled of parchment and dust. Candle flames danced in the faint breeze from the narrow windows. Around the carved table sat men he had known most of his life. Some he had trusted, some he had despised, some he had used like tools until they had broken. Your Grace, Pycelle wheezed, rising to bow, his chains clinking. We live to serve. I am sure, Aerys said dryly. He took his seat at the head of the table, the dragon skull carved into the chair's back looming above his head. Varys watched with his pale, expressionless eyes. Lord Chelstead shuffled papers. Others shifted, clearing throats. You have heard, Aerys said. Lord Stark in my hall, his son shouting for my head. My own son gone off playing at romance and prophecy. An affront to your majesty, your grace, Pycelle said at once. Unforgivable. A firm response is required. The Starks must be discouraged from such insubordination. The prince's indiscretion must be corrected swiftly. By corrected, do you mean stabbed? Varys asked mildly. Pycelle sputtered. Aye. We must be careful, Varys went on smoothly. Lord Rickard Stark is a proud man. Lord Robert Baratheon is a passionate one. Jon Arryn is not a man easily pushed. If their blood is spilled, those three will unite. North Stormlands Vale, a formidable alliance even for dragons. Aerys' mouth thinned. You would have me coddle traitors. I would have you separate threat from insult, Varys said. An insult can be salved. A threat must be dealt with. But to identify which is which, we must listen. Tywin Lannister's empty seat seemed to glare at them all. Aerys' fingers tightened on the arms of his chair. My hand is not here, he said. No, your grace, Varys said. Perhaps you might consider inviting another. The realm is restless. The Harrenhal tourney awakened many ambitions. Your son's actions have stirred more. A steady hand at your side would be most useful. You volunteer, Spider? Ares asked with a bitter smile. Varys inclined his head. I am but a humble servant, your grace. Spiders do their best work in shadows, not on thrones. A pity, Ares murmured. You might have made an honest liar of my court. He looked down at the letters spread before him. Stark, Baratheon, Aaron, Rhaegar. I will hear them, he said. All of them. I will hear my son explain himself. I will hear Lord Stark's grievance. And then, he lifted his gaze, meeting each of theirs in turn. And then I will choose a path that does not burn this realm to ash, he said. If I can. Pycelle blinked. Your grace. You heard me, Ares snapped. I am not deaf, though I wonder if I am surrounded by them. He leaned forward. We will prepare for their arrival. Lodgings befitting their station. Guards discreet but firm. No more whispers of pyres and wildfire. Anyone found stockpiling it without my direct command will lose their tongues. Varys's gaze sharpened. Of course, your grace. Ares could feel the mad whispers circling, furious at being denied their feast. He felt the old itch in his fingers, the longing to light just one man on fire and watch him dance. He clenched his jaw until his teeth ached. Not yet, he told himself. Perhaps not ever. Send a raven to Casterly Rock, he added abruptly. Lord Tywin is to attend this council. Pycelle paled. Your grace, after the last rift, is that wise? He may refuse. Then he will insult me to my face instead of behind my back, Ares said. And I will see what face my former hand wears now. Call him. We will see who the lions follow when the dragon roars in something other than madness. Bran watched it all, pulse thrumming like wings. He stayed in the roots of the city as the days passed. His awareness spread through stone and timber and the thin, spindly trees that clung to the Kingswood's rocky soil. He watched the preparations, servants airing out royal apartments, gold cloaks drilling in the yard, kitchens ordering more grain and meat. He watched the pyromancers huddle in their guild hall, baffled and angry at their sudden exclusion. He watched Jaime Lannister in the yard, gold hair damp with sweat, sword flashing as he practiced alone. The boy, he was no more than that truly, paused sometimes, staring up at the Red Keep's red walls as if they were about to fall on him. Bran wondered what burdens he'd carry if things went differently this time. And then the guests began to arrive. The Starks came first. Winterfell's gray banner with its howling direwolf fluttered over their column as it wound through the city's filthy streets. Small folk craned their necks to stare, some expecting savages in furs, others simply hungry for novelty. Rickard Stark rode at the head, straight-backed on a mottled gray stallion. His hair was more salt than pepper now, but his gaze was sharp. Beside him rode Brandon, hot-headed, laughing, eyes already roaming over the women peering from balconies. Behind them came a younger son with eyes too serious for his years. Ned. Bran's heart clenched as he saw his father like this, alive and unburdened by heads on spikes and broken oaths. Ned's face was leaner, his jaw less heavy, but the same line of stubbornness marked his mouth. "Remember, we are guests," Rickard murmured to his sons as they passed under the gate. "We are in the dragon's den. Do not give him cause to call us wolves with bloody muzzles." "Depends what he serves," Brandon muttered, earning a sharp look. Ned smiled faintly. "Father means words as well as meat," he said. "Let us see if the king still knows the taste of either." Bran slipped along with them, through their eyes, their nerves, the prickle on their necks as they entered the Red Keep's shadow. Later that day, he watched as messengers came panting to the throne room. "The prince approaches, your grace," they cried. Prince Rhaegar from the west, with a lady by his side and 3 of the Kingsguard in his train. "Interesting," Varys murmured. The hall filled quickly. Courtiers buzzed like flies. Stark and his sons took their places to one side, flanked by guards. Their swords had been peace-bonded, but their presence alone was a kind of weapon. Aerys sat the throne again, but this time his grip on its arms was steady. The crown sat straight on his brow. His hair had been brushed and braided back in the old Valyrian style. He looked thinner, yes, and lines of strain cut his face deep, but his eyes were clear. The great doors creaked open. Rhaegar Targaryen walked into the hall with the easy grace of a man who knew everyone was watching and had decided to make them wait on his words. His armor was polished but plain, dark plate chased with subtle dragons. No rubies today. At his hip hung a sword. On his arm hung a girl in riding leathers, hair loose, chin high. Lyanna Stark met her father's eye without flinching. Bran saw the pain hit Ricard's gaze like a blow. Relief that she was unharmed. Fury that she had come under another man's protection. Fear for what this moment meant. Behind him, Brandon surged forward before catching himself. Jaw clenched so hard a muscle twitched in his cheek. Ned simply stared, eyes wide and wounded. Lyanna's chest rose and fell. Bran felt her think, "I will not cry. I am a Stark of Winterfell, not some southern maiden to faint and sob." She bowed her head just enough to show respect, just little enough to show she would not bend easily. "Father," she said, voice carrying clearly in the hall. "Your Grace." The titles balanced on her tongue like blades. Ricard exhaled. "Daughter," he said. The word was rough. "You stand before your king under the arm of another man, without my leave. Explain." Rhaegar stepped forward. His hand brushed Lyanna's, then dropped to his side. "My lord," he said, and his voice had the calm of a quiet river with a sharp current underneath. "My king, I owe you all explanation. I have wronged you, Lord Ricard. That is truth. I took your daughter from a feast where she was promised to another, and I did not seek your blessing first." "You call that wronging?" Brandon burst out. "You stole her. You!" "Brandon," Ricard said, the one word taking command of his son's anger. Rhaegar inclined his head. "Call it theft if you will," he said. "I will not pretend my actions were courteous. But I will say this, I did not take a captive. I answered a call." Lyanna lifted her chin. "I rode with him," she said. "I asked him to take me away from a match I did not want. I chose this path, father." Ricard's gaze swung to her. Pain sharpened his features. "Did you choose to shame our house?" he demanded. "To break faith with Lord Baratheon? With the king who had given his word to that match?" "I did not make that match," Lyanna said hotly. "You did. Robert did. Everyone but me. I have heard all my life what a great man he is, what a fine husband he will make. I have also heard of every serving girl and wine cellar he has tumbled. I will not be a broodmare waiting while my lord rains bastards on the countryside and expects me to smile." A ripple of uncomfortable laughter ran through the hall, quickly stifled. "He would have loved you," Ricard said, but there was doubt in it. "He loves an idea of me," Lyanna snapped back. "Some northern maid with flowers in her hair who admires his stories. He does not love me, the wolf who will not heal. At least this one," she jerked her head toward Rhaegar, "listens when I speak." Rhaegar's mouth twitched. Aerys watched it all from the throne, fingers steepled. Bran felt the old bitterness rise in him. Disrespect, insolence, wolves snapping at his heels. But he also felt something else, newfound and wary. The awareness that this was a family breaking in front of him, not merely pieces on his board. "The match with Lord Baratheon was made under my seal," Aerys said at last, voice cutting through the growing murmurs. "To break it without leave insults my crown as well as House Baratheon." He let that hang, weighty. Rhaegar bowed his head. "Then I beg leave to make proper amends," he said. "To Lord Ricard, to Lord Robert, to you, father." "Amends?" Brandon exploded. "You think flowers and songs will fix this? You've despoiled my sister. You've pissed on my father's name. I should cut you down where you stand." Steel rasped as Brandon half drew his sword. Half a dozen gold cloaks tensed. The Kingsguard shifted. Ned grabbed his brother's arm, muscle straining. "Enough!" Ricard barked. His voice cracked like a whip. "Brandon, you will sheath that sword now, or I will break it over my knee and send you home in chains." Brandon froze. Slowly, teeth gritted, he pushed the blade back into its scabbard. "My apologies, Your Grace," Ricard said stiffly. "My son's temper runs hot, like some others in this hall." He shot Ares a look as sharp as any dagger. The king's cheeks flushed faintly. "I will not feign humility I do not feel," Rhaegar said. "But I will say this. I love Lyanna Stark. I have found in her the other half of a song I have been trying to play my whole life. Can not and will not return her to a man she does not want." "That is not your choice alone," Ares snapped before he could stop himself. "You are bound to Elia Martell. Have you forgotten your vows? Or do you mean to slight Dorne as you have slighted the North and the Stormlands?" Rhaegar's jaw tightened. He bowed his head toward the empty space where a Dornish banner might have flown if Elia had been strong enough to travel. "Elia is precious to me," he said. "She is the mother of my children, a princess of Dorne, and a wise woman besides. I will not cast her aside. I would ask instead to return to the older ways of our house." He lifted his gaze to his father's. Aegon the Conqueror took both his sisters to wife. Many Targaryens after him kept more than one spouse. Jaws dropped around the hall. Even Varys's composure cracked for a heartbeat. "You would have 2 wives," Ares said slowly. "2 queens. I would have 2 partners," Rhaegar said. 3 houses bound instead of 1. Dragon, wolf, and sun and spear. 3 heads for the dragon, as the prophecy says. 3 bloodlines united when winter comes. Bran felt something shiver in the world at that. Prophecy was a slippery thing, but this path gave it new teeth. "Winter has not come yet," Ares muttered. "It will," Rhaegar said quietly. "Not the winter on the calendars. A deeper one. I have seen things. Visions of white walkers on the Trident, maybe of dragons screaming against blue fire." Bran eased back. This was his territory, but Rhaegar had his own glimpses, scattered like shards of glass in dragon dreams. "You speak of dreams," Ares said disdainfully. "I speak of the realm in front of me. Lords will not like this. They barely stomached my father's marriage to your mother. They will call this perversion, abomination. They will call it what it is." "Strength," Lyanna said, stepping forward. "The North remembers its oaths. Dorne keeps its grudges. Alone, our houses pull the realm in 3 directions. Together," she spread her hands. "Your enemies will think twice before striking," she finished. "They will know a wolf will bite them if a dragon misses." Rhaegar smiled at that. Ricard Stark stared at his daughter, at the prince who had stolen her, at the king shifting restlessly on the throne. "This is madness," he said at last, voice low. "Yes," Ares said dryly, "but perhaps not the worst kind." His fingers drummed on the throne's arm. "What would you have me do, Stark? Deny my son? Deny your daughter? Send her back to a man she does not want and hope he does not take out that slight on the North with his fists? Deny Dorne its claims and watch it reach for spears? Or you might remember why you sit that throne," Ricard said. "You are king. You do not simply nod to the whims of your children like some indulgent father. Your choices set the realm's course." Ares's temper flared. "Do not lecture me on kingship, wolf. I have ruled this realm since before you knew which end of a sword to hold. You have presided over it while others steered," Ricard said bluntly. "Your hand, your son, your pyromancers. Look where that has led." Murmurs, sharp intakes of breath. Bran braced himself. In the world he had known, such insolence would have seen Ricard roasted where he stood. But Ares, the Ares who had seen his own end in green flame and golden steel, only looked at the Stark Lord for a long, long moment. Then slowly he laughed. It was not a pleasant sound, but it was not entirely unhinged either. "You have teeth, Stark," he said. "I suppose the cold keeps them sharp." He shifted his weight, the iron swords beneath him creaking. "You are not wrong," he said. The admission shocked the hall into silence. I have let others shape my rule. I have hidden behind their counsel and my own fear. I have burned when I should have bound. He stood. The hall seemed smaller when he did. No more, he said. If my son is to have 2 wives, if my crown is to rest on 3 heads instead of 1, it will not be because he dragged us there in secret. It will be because I decide it is the best path for my realm. He turned slowly, taking in each banner, each face. A great council, he said. Not here. Not in this hall, where every stone smells of smoke. We will convene at Harrenhal again, under sky and tower both. Lords paramount, great houses, septons, maesters. Let them speak. Let them weigh the cost of war against the strangeness of this proposal. He smiled, thin and sharp. They like their talk of law. Very well. We will make new law if we must. Pycelle gaped. Your Grace. That is unprecedented. Conquest was unprecedented once, Aerys said. Valyria's fall was unprecedented. Yet here we stand. He looked back to Rhaegar. Until then, you will remain here, both of you, under my roof, under my protection. His gaze flicked past Lyanna toward the Stark men. Under my eye, there will be no more running off to towers in the desert. If you want to upend the realm, you will do it where I can see you. Rhaegar bowed. As you command, father. Lyanna did not bow, but she inclined her head. Rickard Stark's shoulders sagged just a little. He was a proud man, but not so proud he could not see when the winds changed. You would make me wait, he said, while the realm gossips and the bards compose their filth. Yes, Aerys said, while we craft something better than blood. He met Rickard's eyes. Your house gains leverage here, Stark. You can walk away and take your banners with you, screaming affront, and drag your friend Baratheon and your foster father Aeron into rebellion. The realm will shatter. Or you can hold for a moment, swallow your pride, and see if there is a way to have your daughter honored instead of exchanged like a cask of wine. Rickard stared at him. His fingers flexed at his sides. He looked at Lyanna, at Brandon, at Ned. Bran felt the decision forming in him like ice. We will stay, Rick, Card said finally. For the council. My sons and I will remain here as guests. He put just enough emphasis on the last word to make clear he knew the precariousness of their position. My daughter will abide your decision, your grace. Lyanna stiffened. Father, you chose your path, Rickard said, not unkindly. Now you must walk it. He looked back at the king. But know this. If my daughter comes to harm under your roof, dragon or no, crown or no, wolf and stag and falcon will break their teeth on your bones. It was as bald a threat as ever spoken in that hall. Aerys' eyes narrowed. I would expect nothing less, he said. We are agreed, then. Council, not conflagration. Bran felt the world shift again. In one branch of possibility, Rickard's words would have been his last. Brandon would have strangled halfway to his father's sword, tongues choking on wildfire smoke. Rhaegar would have stayed away. Robert would have raised his banners. The trident would have run red. A girl would have died in a tower, thinking of blue roses. That branch withered. In its place, a new thing grew. Preparations for the council began at once. Letters flew like flocks of startled birds. Maesters scratched furiously at parchment. Lords cursed and fretted and calculated, weighing the cost of travel and the opportunity to speak their piece in front of king and prince both. At Harrenhal, the ruin stirred. Its black stones had soaked up fire and blood before. They would do so again, but of a different sort. Bran followed threads as best he could. There were too many. Each choice blossomed into dozens of others. But through them all wound a few strong lines. Aerys' stubborn attempt at sanity. Rhaegar's determination to bind houses through love and prophecy both. Lyanna's refusal to be merely a pawn. Rickard's grudging willingness to play a deeper game. He watched Tywin arrive in King's Landing ahead of the journey to Harrenhal, gold lion on crimson banners sweeping through the city gates. The meeting between king and former hand crackled with old wounds. You sent for me, Tywin said, inclining his head the barest degree. I did, Aerys said. You did not refuse. I considered it, Tywin said, but my duty to the realm outweighs my personal feelings. Duty, Aerys echoed, an interesting word from a man who abandoned his post when his pride was pricked. Your insults to my house were not small pricks, Your Grace, Tywin said evenly. You mocked my daughter. You rejected my son's service. You treated the lion like a lapdog and then were shocked when it refused to sit. You grew too strong, Aerys snapped, too beloved. They spoke your name in the streets more than mine. I am king. You are, Tywin agreed, which is why I am here. He met Aerys's gaze unflinchingly. The realm teeters. Your son seeks to rearrange its foundations. You seek something. I do not yet know what, but I know this. If you let this question of succession and marriage spiral into civil war, there will be nothing left for Lannister or Stark or Baratheon or Targaryen to rule. We will be picking fleas off a corpse. Aerys snorted. You paint a pretty picture. I paint a realistic one, Tywin said. Attend this council at Harrenhal with clear eyes. Let lords speak. Then decide. But do not flinch from that decision. Half measures will kill you faster than wildfire. Bran watched the words land. Aerys disliked being told what to do, but he also disliked being made a fool. The memory of his own death still lingered sharp in his bones. The ghost boy's words about choosing something other than ash still rang in his ears. I will not be remembered as the Mad King, he murmured that night, alone in his chamber, staring into a mirror. I will not. Then don't be. Error in message stream. Retry.